Chapter 13. Something little will turn out to be big. When Amy came back downstairs, Luann was watching Aunt Claire roll pizza dough on the kitchen table. A bowl of tomato sauce stood at one end of the table next to the other of cheese, and the spicy smell of freshly browned sausage filled the room. Hi, Aunt Claire lunged at the circle of the dough with the rolling pin, as if attacking it made her feel better. You okay? Yes, Amy met her eyes. I'm sorry, I just don't like being tricked. Well, I'm sure you're wrong about that, Aunt Claire interrupted smoothly. She folded the circles of pastry into quarters for easy handling and transferred them to greased baking sheets. Here, party girl, it's your turn to work on the refreshments. Luann has broken up the cheese into small pieces and the sausages is all ready. Just sprinkle plenty of each over the crust while I mince some garlic for tomato sauce. This is an old family recipe straight out of Better Homes and Gardens. Amy brought the sausage skillet from the stove to set to work. She felt exhausted, and she knew her eyes were red from the storm of tears that had filled with the last half an hour. I helped Aunt Claire, Luann said. She pushed the bowl of cheese across the table, watching Amy uneasily. I fixed the cheese. Good for you. Amy knew she sounded cranky. You did a good job, she added. These are going to be great pizzas. The uneasiness vanished at once. These are going to be great pizzas, Luann agreed. I'm going to tell everybody at the party that I helped. Amy sighed. Her sister usually talked constantly when she had an audience, and because Amy's friends were unsure how to react, they would pretend to be interested when they weren't. Amy could imagine just how the evening would go. I wish you'd try not to, she began, then gave up. Was the use? The party was spoiled anyways, and she wondered what Ellen would say. Ellen, who had called off the hike when she thought Luann would be coming along. Aunt Claire seemed to guess her thoughts. The one thing to remember at the party, Luann, she said crisply, is... Sorry guys, not easy to flip the page. That all the girls will have to talk about. I'm sure what they will say will be interesting, so most of the time you could just be a good listener. Luann looked astonished. I can't talk? Of course you can talk. I said most of the time. Will you try and remember that? Sure, Luann said. I can listen. I can make puppets too. I brought my puppet. Amy said I can show it to the girls at the party. Amy cast a despairing look at her aunt. Luann was already thinking of it as her party. By the time the guests arrived, she'd be so excited that there'd be no calming her. Where will I sleep tonight? Luann demanded. I want to see. Aunt Claire came back to the table with a saucer containing tiny slivers of garlic. I suppose we can open up another bedroom, she said. Luann can just ignore the dust, and we'll have to get some more bedding from the attic. Amy shuddered. The last thing she wanted right now was another trip to the attic. She can sleep with me, she said quickly. She should. Anyway, if she's in the room by herself, she might wake up in the middle of the night and want to come looking for me. She could get all mixed up in the strange house. Won't get mixed up, Luann protested, but she looked pleased with the answer to her question. Show me where we sleep, Amy. You can go up and look at it, Amy replied. It's the first room at the top of the stairs. Take your bag with you. She pointed to the duffel bag and stood at the kitchen door. When Luann had left, Amy picked up the bowl of tomato sauce. I've finished the cheese and sausage, she said. Shall I spoon the sauce over the top? Right, Aunt Claire replied. I put a tablecloth in the dining room with some small plates and glasses for Coke and whatever. I'll turn the oven on as soon as the girls get there. I'm really sorry about the way I acted before, Amy mumbled. I know it's not your fault by the way things turned out. No, it's not. Aunt Claire went to the window and looked out into the twilight. You know, Amy, I feel sorry for Luann tonight. She knows very well she wasn't invited to your party, and she's uncomfortable even if she doesn't show it much. She's accustomed to being smothered with attention. While you were upstairs, she kept saying she wanted to go home. I told her everything would be all right, but it will be, Amy said. Don't worry. I was just seeing her here was when I wasn't expecting her. I know. A car door slammed. They're here, Amy said, grateful for the interruption. She hurried down the hall to the front door. Ellen and Sissy were climbing out of the front seat of the Kramer's Buick. 3 more girls spilled out of the back, giggling and bumping into each other as they escorted themselves out. Miss Kramer waved as Amy came across the front steps, and the car moved off the driveway. Happy birthday, the girls shouted in chorus. The party had begun. Since she was fully expected to be miserable all evening, it took Amy a while to realize that everyone else was having a good time. The girls quickly settled on the parlor floor with soft drinks close by the potato chips and very special dip in the center of the circle. Aunt Claire came in briefly to meet everyone, and Luann sat cross-legged next to Amy. My mother had to go away, Amy explained to Ellen in a low voice, and then to the others, I guess you all know my sister Luann. Luann looked at them speechless for a moment. This is great, Kathy Sells explained. Friday night and a party the next week school is over. She plunged a chip into the creamy dip and leaned back. I love this big old house, Amy. Lucky you to be able to stay here. It's like a movie set. A movie set for ghost picture, Midge Anders added. If I lived here, I'd be looking for spooks all around every corner. If she only knew, Amy thought. Is someone going to tell fortunes, she asked, to change the subject. I am, Sissy produced a deck of cards from her bulging shoulder bag, and Kathy has her aunt's makeup samples. She's going to show us how. Your eyebrows look funny, Luann said to Kathy, her shyness vanishing abruptly. You look like you have crayon on them. There was an embarrassed silence, and Amy felt her face growing hot, but Kathy just grinned. I know I have a lot on right now, she admitted. Give me time, Luann. My aunt keeps saying, don't use so much, but how do I know what too much is? They all laughed, and Amy relaxed. Luann crawled across the carpet to sit beside Kathy. You're so pretty anyway, she said. You're nice. Kathy looked pleased. Well, thanks, she said. I like your pantsuit, Luann. It's my favorite shade of blue. Luann nodded. It's nice, she agreed. I picked it out with my mom. Do you want to see the puppet I made? What they wanted was food. In just a few minutes, Aunt Claire said from the hall. How about helping me, Luann? You and I have important work to do. Luann looked around regretfully, but she did what she was asked. Who wants to be the first to have her fortune told? Sissy spread across the cards and, without waiting for an answer, pointed at Ellen. Birthday girls first, she said. Come over here and sit in front of the great Zornia, who tells all. The cards showed that Ellen had a year of great happiness ahead of her. A blonde man would come into her life, probably the paper boy, Ellen groaned. She would make a special new friend. That's you, Amy. And she would be successful at whatever she did in the next 2 months. What I'm going to do for the next 2 months is sleep late every morning. I'll be a very successful sleeper. Amy had just taken Ellen's place in front of the great Zornia when Luann returned. The pizza's ready, she said. I put it on the table, Aunt Amy. The girls scrambled to their feet. Pizza? Carol Tekla squealed. That's all I want in my future. Luann led the way to the dining room. You sit here, Kathy, she ordered. I'm going to sit next to you. You'd better sit next to me, Luann, Amy began, but Kathy took Luann's hand. You and I are buddies, Luann, she said. After supper, I'll make you look like a movie star. No eyebrows, Luann said, and looked surprised when everyone laughed. For the rest of the evening, Luann hardly left Kathy's side. Kathy was really wonderful, Amy thought. She treats Luann like a friend, not a pest. Why can't I do that? But of course, she reminded herself Kathy didn't have Luann in her every day. It was easy enough to be patient for a couple hours. Aunt Claire stayed out of sight while they ate, except for a time or two when Luann's voice drowned out all other conversation. Then she peered at the door to the kitchen, looked at Luann hard, and gave a tiny shake of her head. Each time Luann quieted. She seemed to accept the reproof as long as it was given discreetly. When the pizza platters were empty, the girls carried the plates into the kitchen. Amy put a tape on her player, and Kathy set out the makeup samples after covering the table with a newspaper. Each guest took turn in front of the mirror, and a cold creamed away most of the results, and Sissy produced her fortune-telling cards again. Come on, Amy, you're next. Don't you want to find out what's going to happen to you now that you're 13? I'm not sure, Amy replied, and meant it. So many strange things had happened recently. She wasn't sure she was ready to hear more. The great Zornia said the man in Amy's life was going to be tall and dark. And you're going to make an important discovery. Something that seems little will turn out to be big. She's going to find a diamond ring, Midge guessed, or an oyster with a huge pearl inside it, suggested Carol. The dollhouse, Ellen sang out. It's the dollhouse in the attic, Amy, Sissy said. Something little will turn out to be big. She turned to the others, her eyes shining. Oh, you have to see it. It's perfect miniature of this house we're in right now. It's probably worth thousands of dollars. We can't go up there, Amy snapped out the words, and the girls looked at her in surprise. Aunt Claire doesn't want anybody touching it, she explained. It's like, Ellen said, it's very valuable. Oh, Amy, we won't touch it, Ellen coaxed. We don't even have to open it if you say so. We'll just look at it from the outside and peek in the windows. What dollhouse? Luann demanded. Where's the dollhouse? I want to see the dollhouse, Amy. Amy's heart sank. Darn Ellen anyhow. She should have told her not to mention the dollhouse at the party. Now it was too late. Even if the girls didn't insist, Luann would keep on begging. We can't, she said weakly. Can't what? Aunt Claire was coming back with a bowl of caramel corn on either hand. Here's something to fill up any remaining empty spaces until it's time for the cake. The girls groaned. What can't you do, Amy? Show them the dollhouse, Ellen told them. I told them how really beautiful it is, Miss Traylor, Ellen interrupted, helping herself to a handful of caramel corn. You wouldn't mind if we just took a quick look at it, would you, please? Aunt Claire's lips tightened. She glanced at Luann, who was on her feet and peering into the corners of the dining room. The dollhouse might be hidden there. Well, she said reluctantly, I suppose if you really want to. We do, Sissy explained. Oh, we do. Go ahead then. You take them to the attic, Amy. Replace the light bulb this afternoon. Please don't touch anything in the house. We won't, Ellen cried. Come on, everybody. Wait till you see it. With dragging feet, Amy followed her friends up to the stairs. Ellen was in the lead and Luann right behind her, pink with excitement. When they reached the far corner of the attic, Ellen stepped back and pulled Amy to the front. You'd better take off the sheet, Amy, she said. Your aunt will feel better if nobody else touches it. Amy was stiff with dread. She didn't want to uncover the house. She thought of what she might see. Another change that couldn't be explained was terrifying. It took all the willpower to pick up the end of the sheet and pull it off the house. She hardly heard the gasps of delight her friends gathered around. Peek in through the windows, Ellen urged. Amy and I put all the dolls in the dining room table, and they looked just like real people sitting there. Oh, Amy, she knelt at Amy's feet. Open the front and give everybody a one little look. Your aunt will mind. What harm can it do anyways? I don't think I'd better. I want to see, Luann begged. Amy, please, Amy. Please, please, please. I want to see inside. Amy released a latch that held the front of the house in place, and the wall swung back. The girls crowded closer and bent down. At first they were speechless. Then they all talked at once. The grandfather clock. Look at those tiny dishes in the dining room table. The fireplace with little logs and a poker. Look at the old-fashioned bathtub, Amy started. The grandfather doll was in bedroom and the grandmother was in the parlor, in the same positions in which she had seen them last night. You've moved the family around, Amy, Ellen said. We had them in the dining room, remember? Where's the girl doll, the one that's supposed to be your aunt? She's in the box, Amy said tonelessly. I just left them. She stopped in confusion, but Ellen didn't ask any more questions. The minutes dragged by while the girls looked into each room and found new details to admire. We'd better go downstairs, Amy said finally. She looked as if they would be content to stay where the rest of the evening. You didn't finish telling my fortune, Sissy. You haven't done anybody's but Ellen's, and we're going to have a birthday cake. The girls got to their feet except Luann, who seemed hypnotized by the contents of the house. So little, she crooned, so pretty, with delicacy Amy wouldn't have thought possible. She reached into the parlor and picked up the tiny rocking chair with an embroidered seat. So little, she began. I love the dollhouse. She put the chair back and moved out of the way so Amy could close the front wall. Goodbye, house. Goodbye, dolls. Come on, Luann, Amy urged. You want your fortune told, don't you? They trooped downstairs, and Ellen leading the way once. Oh, no, I lost a page. Once more, and Amy, Luann, and Kathy bringing up the rear. Goodbye, house, Luann called again. Goodbye, dolls. I have to go. I have to have my fortune told now. Amy stopped for the last look at the sheeted house before following the others down the stairs. It's just a toy, she told herself, but she knew it was more than that. The moving dolls, the light, they were as real as the house itself, and since no one else knew about them, it was up to Amy to find out what they meant.